this will be a bit different to what I normally post, but let me know your thoughts. So you may or may not have seen last night that that American de-extinction company, Colossal, has decided to de-extinct the South Island giant moa, which is the tallest bird in the world. Not quite the heaviest, but the tallest. It went extinct about 600 years ago. And I want to give my thoughts on this as a zoology student and as someone whose whole reason into doing the degree that I'm doing now is based off these birds in some sort of way. So if you didn't already know, there are 9 moa species, and South Island giant moa, Danons robustus being the biggest. The North Island giant moa was pretty close in size. It was about the same height, so 3.6 meters, but it was much slimmer and it weighed less. First of all, I think this is a really odd choice for a de-extinction because first of all you're going straight to the larger species and you're trying to do that, and we don't actually have the most complete DNA for the South Island giant moa. We have 85% of the genome sequenced for the little bush moa, which is Anomalopteryx didiformis. Yes, that's the one. And that was the smallest moa species, about the size of a goose. That seems like a far better, more manageable candidate to me, but alright. So it ultimately, I think, does come down to colossals, a very apt naming. They're looking to bring back megafauna. They are also working on the woolly mammoth, and they have been for a while now, with not much success. The thylacine, Tasmanian tiger, very odd marsupial predator. The dodo, which I am interested to see how that works out. And you probably know them recently from the whole. It would have been about 2 or 3 months ago. They announced they had revived dire wolves, which they hadn't. They'd taken grey wolves and they tweaked the genome of grey wolves to produce basically big grey wolves that they call dire wolves. And yeah, of course, I didn't support that. That felt like bad science to me, and they were very misleading about it. But they got lots of attention and more funding, so I suppose that worked out for them. All right. So, what am I up to? I have a list of points. So, first of all, what I'm concerned about is for the direwolves, like I said, direwolves, they're technically not wolves. They are more closely related to jackals. Their closest living relative is the African jackal. Colossal went against research and says and claims, still do, that the grey wolf is the closest living relative to the dire wolf, which is not correct, which means they basically could take more shortcuts to produce something that looks like a dire wolf, but it's just a big grey wolf. Now, what I'm concerned about is if they're this willing to ignore signs like that, that when they de-extinct the South Island giant moa, or just any moa species in general, they will overlook a whole bunch of the real phylogenetic relationships that exist within ratites, which are the large flightless birds. Because moa, interestingly enough, are most closely related to a small South Island bird that can fly called a tinamou. Looks a wee bit like our weka, or a small chicken. But Colossal's plan, I've been reading through their site. They are looking at using tinamou DNA, which is good. They know that at least. But they're talking about the emu being a better surrogate and that they're more similar. This concerns me because the moa and the emu are not closely related at all. The emu is more closely related to the kiwi than it is to the moa, which is, yeah, so that concerns me because if this goes the same way as they did for the direwolves, where they take an already existing species and they basically just make it bigger and claim that it's something else, we might just end up with a big emu and not a South Island giant moa. And the emu and most moa species, very different habits. Of course, emu tend to live in open grasslands and plains in the Australian desert. They do go everywhere really, so that's not too bad. But in terms of habits and habitat, the moa is probably the most similar to the cassowary, even though it's not closely related again. So if you end up with a big emu, it's not going to fill the same niche that the moa did, even if you call it a moa. And I, while I'm interested to see where the science goes, I really do not like how disingenuous Colossal can be with this kind of thing. So how's this being funded? Peter Jackson, Sir Peter Jackson is. So the project at the moment has about 50 million pledged towards it, or they're saying that they will need 50 million for it. And of course, Sir Peter Jackson, you know, I'm the filmmaker director. He is pledging money towards it, which is cool. Sure, good for him. If you can throw that money around, go for it. If I had that money to throw around, I probably would do the same. But yeah, and there are other names like Paul Schofield, who works at the Canterbury Museum. I have a lovely book on Moa that I bought quite a few years back now that he co-authored, and it's wonderful. So he knows his stuff, which is cool to see actual New Zealand scientists being heavily involved. Frankly, though, I'm not in support of this, really. I'm interested to see how the science goes, but, and this will probably surprise a lot of people considering Moa is why I'm studying what I'm studying, but I'm really iffy about this. The whole Colossal and the direwolves incident a few months back, and it's still claiming that they made direwolves, by the way, even though the scientists have sort of admitted we didn't really make a direwolf, but they're still pushing the narrative that they did, and being very clickbaity about it. If you look at their account, you can easily see that, and I'll probably put them in the description of this video so you can go have a look for yourself and see all of this. Which reminds me, another thing that they're doing that really pissed me off. Sorry, when I saw the post about the Moa, is the use of AI. Now, I get it. It's cheap, and it's a good way to make moving footage of something that there isn't really much footage of, unless you want to go through documentaries. But it feels really cheap and really shady. I didn't like that very much. Especially when you can go to the online to public collections and you can get basically copyright free these wonderful illustrations done by a guy called Paul Martinson about 10, 15 years ago, I think, of all these New Zealand extinct birds. And they could have done that. And that would have been far more accurate than the slop that they put out. And I'm looking at their official website as well. It's a lovely, colourful page. It's got good step-by-step plans on it, but there's so much AI and there's so much nonsense that they're just really glossing over. Every single one of these Moa pictures here, because I've got 6 of the 9 species here, they're just completely AI generated. It's so irritating to me that New Zealand paleontologists are also missing out on this opportunity. But yeah, this video is nearing 10 minutes, so I am going to end it here. My final thoughts, we probably won't see any results from this for like 10 years. They've been talking about the mammoths since 2013, and that's not gone anywhere. The direwolves, again, are just kind of a flash in the pan. I don't think they don't really have any staying power. They've made 3 of them. They're not real direwolves. They're just big grey wolves. The thylacine seems to be making interesting progress, and I do want to see how that goes. I feel like that one has the most potential. As for the dodo, no clue. No clue whatsoever. They post about it probably the least. I am interested to see how that goes, considering it's another bird that they're working on de-extincting. But I am not particularly optimistic for it, I must admit. Alright, this will be the end of my video. Let me know what you think. If you sat through all of this, then thank you very much. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this if you did have a listen to my rant.